Hello everyone. So in this video we're gonna see our hello world code and read more about it on the documentation. So on the last videos we show how to create a React application from the command line. So this was our application. Let's start with it. um, this was the basic application we created last time. So we had index.js and also that app.js, and we can see from ReactJS, right? If we go to ReactJS and then main concept hello world, we see that the smallest React example looks like this. How does it work is here in our index.js we have this app component, right? What we can do is like we can just remove this app component and we can add a normal h1 tag here, hide there, and we see that our if we load our component, right, let's return again. So we have this new update here already. So that's the first smallest thing you can imagine, like a hello world for ReactJS. So to explain it, right, I mean, I think if you have worked with HTML CSS, this should be easy to understand, right? We have HTML tag, and in the last example we explained like how this get element root works. However, in the documentation, right, they have assumed that you have some level of knowledge on JavaScript, and you can read through it like I mean, this is something very basic, easy to understand. However, if you really want to know, right, I think you can read about what is JXS. I can give a like small explanation how does it work, right? So consider this a element, like if you write HTML, right, it's a element, right? And then if you convert this element to something, you can render with the React with something like this. That's one way. And then if you have more than one element or some data, you can use the use something like this, like format name, so function call and user, something like this in ReactJS. It works for conditional statement as well, something like this. And also if you want to use an image, you can work like this as well. So let's see one by one example. So we can have the element of this. Let's copy this in our code, and we can just render this element instead of anything. This way it works also. So this is the element, okay. Oops. So this work also. Let's try something else. Let's see, we have an object of some data, right, and we want to represent the data in our element, right? We can do that as well. Let's say we have a object called user, and we want to template this user data here. We can do something like this: user dot first name, then user dot last name. This also work for us. So now if you see, the new name came. Let's see the next example. Conditional. So this is something we can see, right? It's very, I think let's do this way. So we have user here and something like this. So we can just copy this line of code. So this is a function where if user is available, then we print the user, otherwise we print as a stranger, okay. Now instead of this, we can print this hello stranger and we pass the user into the method. Okay, now if we, okay, format name is not defined. Okay, we can copy the format name function as well. So this is our format name function. So hello Harper page, and one thing we can do is like, if we, let's say we don't pass this user into the function, right, what will happen? So let's say we pass this as the null value. So we see that if we refresh, it says hello stranger. So the conditional statement also works for React app in the template itself. That's how the JSX works. I hope this will be helpful in the future tutorial when we have more details. We can display an image as well. So what we can do is like, we can create an element called img element, and then we can have a avatar URL equal to something, and we can get a avatar URL like placeholder image from here. Let's see, we can just use this. /, oh, we cannot copy, right? Is there any way we can copy this? Oops. Okay, so this should work. Now we can just print the img element. So if we reload, we have the image already. So let's see on the next part. Okay, one thing to remember here, okay, if we have a single element, we need to always wrap it with a root element. If we didn't have this div outside of this h1 and h2, React will throw a error because it always expect a single element to be returned. So let's test with this. Okay, we said that multi element, and we can write multi element. If we write hello, goodbye to see you, good to see you here, but if we just remove this, if you see that it is throwing an error, JS expression must have one parent element, okay, and it will also throw a invalid compile time error. Okay, so always make sure you always return a single div. So there is one way to avoid this writing a div. You can always write something like this also, it will work as well. Or there is another thing called react.fragment. This also can be used. Yeah. What else? Prevent injection attack. Okay, this is something we can do it later also. Something like from the user, right? If you take any input from user and user can send some malicious data which to prevent, which is called like malicious injection, something like that, which is very dangerous if you have a website doesn't do the validation of those. In terms of those way, you can use this manipulation which work as well. Let's see what next. Okay, so this is actually a way to explain how ReactJS works. The JSX representation of this element, like we create a previous element equal to h1, then we can have a class name and then something like this. How React read is in the normal plain vanilla JavaScript is you can create React element. This is a type. What is the type? And you can pass all the details like class name or whatsoever. And this is a string we pass inside this. This code and this code are both same, but we always try to write this way because this is more readable, and this is something we know already how it is represented in the React and also in normal HTML. Having said that, just remember that we don't use class, we use class name when you want to define any CSS class. And this is another way also to do it. Type is h1, and in the element we can type a props children and the class name as well. So I think that should explain some basic JSX code structure. I would really recommend you to go through this page and read about it more. If you have any doubt or any question, feel free to ask. Thank you. Happy coding.